Good morning everyone. It's Saturday morning, 7 o'clock or 7 AM as people in America would like to say. I just let the chickens out of their coop. They're walking around in the garden right now. They're probably still eating their breakfast. But that's not what I want to talk about today. Today I wanted to talk about smartphone photography once again. In one of my previous videos, the one that has actually received a few views, I have been comparing the Moment wide lens and the Moment anamorphic lens. Just a side-to-side comparison to see the difference of what they do, mainly for video, but the same principles apply to photography. So I want to continue on that topic, but today I don't just want to compare the wide and the anamorphic lens. In today's video I actually want to compare all of Moment lenses because they also have a Tele 58mm, a Superfish lens and a macro lens. So today I want to show you different side-to-side comparison photos. It's going to be mainly photos where I try to shoot the same scene with all these different lenses, so you can see the difference of each lens and the benefits, the pros and cons of each lens. So you can hopefully make up your mind of what these lenses do. Next to that, I'll also try to explain a little bit about why you would want to use a wide angle lens rather than take a step back, or why you would want to use a tele lens rather than stepping a bit closer to your subject. I'm going to do all of that not from the couch in here in my living room. I'm actually going to do that outside. In just a few more hours, the doors of the building behind me will open up and they will be driving a cart with lots of Edam cheese outside. Tourists will start to come and will take pictures of the cheese and of the statue just like I did. And most likely they will be using their smartphones to do so. That's the thing you see a lot lately. If you look at the next family meeting, or if you take a look around outside when you see some tourists, you'll see that many more people will be taking pictures and they will be using their smartphone to do so. And I can't blame them really, because smartphones these days make really good cameras. And there are some true benefits to that as well. You don't have to buy another camera, so you will be saving on money and you will be saving on weight, because your phone, the thing you always have with you anyway, is your camera at the same time. Another big benefit of using your smartphone as your main camera is that you can edit your picture and share it with either your friends and family or with the world straight from your phone, without having to copy photos onto the computer and then do all of the complicated stuff from there, which is a lot more work and you have to wait till you get home. So basically you'll be saving yourself a lot of money and a lot of time by using your smartphone as your main camera. However, there are also a few drawbacks with using your smartphone as your camera, and one of the things that might be a drawback is that you'll only have one focal length or one zoom level. Most smartphones only have one camera with one focal length, which is a nice wide shot, which is a great all-purpose camera. Some smartphones, like my iPhone X, have a dual lens system, where you'll have a wide lens and a tele lens, a 2x zoom compared to the other camera. And I believe there are even a few phones out there, like the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, that will have a triple camera system, so they also have a wider shot. With my iPhone X I basically have two focal lengths or two zoom levels. And in some cases I wanted to get a more wider shot, so one of the things I could do is just step a bit further back to get more of the image in my shot. If something is too far away, I might be able to come in closer and take the shot that way. However, that won't always work. Sometimes you're not able to step back because there might be a building or there might be water behind you. Or maybe you're sitting in a car with friends and you want to take a selfie shot with everyone in the car. You might not be able to do that because the camera on your phone isn't wide enough, and of course you can't move out of the car while it's driving. If you want to take a nice picture, a close-up detail of something that's too far away that you can't reach, let's say you're visiting a nice old building, a nice old church or something, and there's this nice detail on the ceiling, you can't just fly up and take that picture, so you might want to use more tele than you already have. Or maybe you'll see some wildlife that you want to take a picture of, and you can't move any closer because you'll scare it away, in which case you might also want to be able to zoom in even further or use a tele lens. Now, many companies have thought about this and made different lenses that you can attach over your smartphone in different ways. And one of these companies that has done that is Moment. And they have, to be exact, made 5 lenses. A Superfish lens. The Superfish lens really is their widest lens, which gives you a 170-degree field of view. Has some really nice benefits, also has some drawbacks. We'll come to that later. They've got a wide 18mm lens, which basically means that usually you would see this, now you would see a bit more like as if you've taken a step backwards. They've also made a very nice tele lens, a 58mm lens. If you put that on your phone, it's basically like a 2x zoom. You can even attach it on your zoom lens if you do have a tele lens to get a 4x zoom, which makes it around a 100mm lens, which is really nice for wildlife or for those faraway things. They've got an Anamorphic lens, which is more made for the filmmaker, but it's also a great photography tool. It's a little bit similar to the wide lens. If you want to see an in-depth comparison between the Anamorphic lens and the wide lens, I do recommend one of my other videos. I'll link it above. And they have a macro lens. Now, for the situation behind me, you wouldn't want to use the macro lens because that really has its own niche. It's really for those close-up details of little flowers or insects or anything that wants to sit still. But out of the other 4 lenses, which one would you choose? Would you go for a more wider shot? Would you go for a more tele shot? What are the benefits of maybe taking a step backwards and using a tele shot, or stepping in closer and using a wider shot to get a similar photo? Well, let's have a look at that. Let's compare all these 5 lenses, or let's compare 4 lenses and then talk about the macro lens with a few different photos later on. I have taken various pictures with these lenses in similar situations. So let's go back to the computer, I'll show you those images and let's start comparing from there. Let's start off with something really simple. Over here I was standing on a bridge, so I wasn't able to move forward or backwards, and I've taken a series of photos with and without the Moment lenses. All of the photos have been taken with the Moment Pro camera app. Next up are these pictures of the same tree. I tried to take them with all the different lenses and try to compose the tree in the same way, which meant that I had to move either closer to the tree or further away from the tree, depending on which lens I was using. What I want to show you with these pictures is how it works with the background. And if we take a look at the first picture that was taken with the native wide lens, we can see that the tree itself looks really nice. There's a forest in the background, there's a little improvised fence next to the tree. This next image shows the exact same tree, but taken with the built-in 2x zoom or tele lens of my iPhone 10. You can see immediately that the forest has appeared to be a bit closer to the tree. The tree itself, especially the lower half of the tree, is blending into the forest a bit more. And you can also see more of the improvised fence over here. And over here I've taken a picture of the tree with the Superfish lens. I'll show you a picture soon where I show you where I was standing with using all the different lenses, and you will see that I was standing very close to the tree, pretty much under the tree already. That's how wide the field of view of this lens is. A few things that stand out is that the forest now really is in the background rather than blurred in with the tree. And you can also see that the horizon here is at an angle while it should be straight. This is how much distortion the lens produces. This is a similar picture but taken with the Moment wide 18mm lens.
The forest itself is still nicely separated from the tree and nicely in the background. And the horizon now shows a lot less distortion if we compare it to the Superfish lens. This is with the Tele 58mm lens on the built-in Tele lens, and as you can see, the forest in the background has come really close to the tree. Most of the tree actually now blends into the forest. It doesn't really look like a separate tree in a field anymore. The forest really has come a lot closer. I also shot a video while taking all these pictures, and from that I distilled one single image to show you where I was standing as opposed to the tree. The tree is right here on the right hand side, and as you can see with the Superfish on the wide camera, I'm pretty much below the tree or next to the tree or pretty close to the tree, and I still was able to capture a lot of sky. I was standing just a little bit further back with the wide 18mm lens, and as you could see in the images, it produced a lot less distortion. I had to stand back a lot with the Tele on Tele lens. As you can see, I was standing outside my field of view. So this image nicely shows you where you would be standing as opposed to a subject when using these different lenses, as well as what the background would do with using these different lenses.
In the previous photos with the tree, you could see that the background was either going further away from the subject or coming in closer. You can use that in a different way, and for that I was standing at the path over here with the trees next to it. And again, this is a picture taken with the built-in wide lens. If I were to take the same picture with the 2x lens, then you would get something like this. It's not just zoomed in a little bit, but it also appears that the trees are standing a bit closer to each other. Over here there's quite a big gap between where I'm standing and the first tree, and quite a big gap between the next two trees, and the gaps appear to be smaller, but over here there's still a big gap over here, but the gaps quickly become less, so it appears that the trees are actually a little bit closer to each other. That really becomes visible when you take the same shot with the Superfish lens on your 1x zoom lens. Right now there's a really big distance before you see the first tree, and then it feels like you're seeing less trees and it's more apart with a tree here and there rather than apart with lots of trees. One of the things with the Superfish lens you really want to be careful of is not to get your fingers in the shot like I did over here. Especially if you use the 4x zoom option with the Tele on Tele. It appears that the trees are really close to each other, and it almost looks like there is pretty much no gap in between the top of the trees. This is the same path, just different lenses. On the left you'll see the Superfish lens on the 1x zoom camera, and on the right you'll see the 2x zoom lens, the 58mm on the 2x camera.
Whoa, wait up there, before we end this video, haven't we forgotten about this little thing, the Moment macro lens? Well, yes, to be honest, maybe I have forgotten about it a little bit. But then again, I couldn't really compare it in the same way I compared the other lenses, because if I would aim this at the tree or from the bridge at the hotel across the water, all you would get is blurry images, because this little lens, or without the diffuser root, this little lens, the minimum focal distance is about 17.5mm or around 18mm. Everything beyond that is blurry in the background. It's a really good lens, but I'm afraid that it's only good for really close-up details, such as fruit or details of flowers, or if they decide to sit still, maybe an insect or a snail or anything close, really, drops. But whatever you like, but it's not good for landscapes, not good for buildings or portraits. And even though Moment says it's a lens that brings everything 10 times closer, well, the focus distance basically is the size of the diffuser root. You can just place it on your subject and your subject will be in focus. But if you're working with things that move, like flowers in the wild or insects, you might want to take the diffuser root off. You may not want to do that, but you really need to come in close, and if it's an insect it'll probably fly away, unless you're lucky, of course. So I'll show you a few more pictures taken with this lens.
that's it for this video. I've shown you plenty of things. I think you've been watching me for far too long now. You've been listening to me for far too much. You probably need your break. And I'm gonna need to make another video. I still have plenty of ideas. I got in some new equipment that I want to talk about. Maybe I got some equipment that I've got for some time already that I want to talk about. So plenty of ideas. Just a lack of time. That's what's keeping me from making more than one video every few months. So I'll be seeing you in the next video.